Hi, so I'm making this video to talk about my personal experience with soil um, for this class. And so I guess my biggest connection to soil is indirect, and that is, I think, because of the large amount of Chinese immigrants that immigrated over during the Gold Rush era. And so I'm not sure if our family directly came, but I think that that was one of the motivations for part of our family, and I it's just quite interesting that an entire a group of people can immigrate over for one purpose, and it changes that entire generational line. And so my great aunt, she lives near the Delta, and there's actually a Chinese historical community that was there around the Gold Rush era and had populated there for agricultural reasons as well. And so the soil and the land is what is I guess, an indirect contributor to influencing entire family lines. And so it's something that we don't think about, but I remember watching a TV show called Warrior, and they talk about the Chinese American experience and what it was like for them to come over and participate in the Gold Rush era. And they worked and lived in terrible conditions and faced racism, and so I think it's hard to separate the idea of having healthy soil without having some type of repercussions on a certain group of people, which is pretty obvious even today, where the soil can determine who's going to be there or who's not going to be there. And so I remember going with my friend trying to find housing for them, and every area that we went to, when I was looking into whether the land had basically been listed for toxic contaminants, most of them that were in low-income neighborhoods were experiencing that. Whereas when we went to nicer neighborhoods, we would find evidence that this is actually, like, there's good air quality, and there's no toxic pollutants in the soil, and everything's regulated. And so, soil has the potential to shape entire communities and lives in that sense. And so I try to implement that in when I do my gardening, when I talk to family members, children should know. I remember being a kid thinking that if I took the roots and the grasses and the plants and I mixed them together, that I could create something. And in some sense, I was right. You can create something in the soil from the plants, but you can also create really bad things. And those bad things, I would learn, can potentially be herbicides, pesticides, and things of that nature. And so, soil it becomes the literal roots of a civilization in the sense of what transpires from them. And I'm constantly reminded of that when I see Asian communities that are in rural areas where there's agriculture, and it's very adamant that those have played a role in shaping culture changes or cultural development, policy changes, obviously redlining. Redlining is, just segregating areas based on income, or typically race. And it's a humbling experience to think about, but an important one that I think most people overlook, usually emphasizing water, but water and soil go hand in hand. And so the Delta, when I think of the Delta, I don't think just about, oh, there's a water pathway. It's also everything that goes into the Delta, which is something that's going to start on land, which starts on soil, which can leach through the soil and into water sources that can get pushed out. And so you have all these processes, but it is an overlooked or undervalued aspect in our communities. So that's what I have.